News Central now at this hour begins with developments in Osun State, where the All Progressives Congress in the state has instructed local government chairmen reinstated by the Court of Appeal on February 10 to resume duties on Monday. In a statement issued on Sunday by the APC's Director of Media and Information, Kola Olabisi, the party dismissed social media reports advising the chairman against returning to office, labeling them as fake news propagated by anti-democratic elements. The APC reaffirmed its commitment to the rule of law and urged security agencies to ensure peace across the local councils. It also cautioned parents to prevent their children from being used as political thugs, emphasizing the need for calm and order in the state. Meanwhile, Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke has directed newly elected local government chairmen to steer clear of council secretariats to prevent unrest. Speaking as their swearing-in on Sunday, Adeleke urged the 30 chairmen and their deputies to focus on community development and uphold the PDP's manifesto. He praised the peaceful electoral process, commended security agencies, and thanked President Bola Tinubu for maintaining stability. Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde also addressed the event, warning against political violence and urging officials to serve the grassroots diligently. The Osun State Independent Electoral Commission declared PDP candidates winners of all 332 councillorship and 30 chairmanship seats. In the state, that is Osun State, the Independent Electoral Commission on Sunday presented certificates of return to the newly elected chairman of the state's 30 local government councils. The People's Democratic Party dominated the elections, winning all chairmanship and councillorship positions in the southwestern states. OSEC Chairman Barrister Ashim Abioye congratulated the elected officials, urging them to serve the people with integrity. In a statement, the PDP commended the voters for peacefully exercising their democratic rights despite challenges, including harassment by security agents. Party Chairman Honorable Sunday BC praised the electorate for resisting attempts to derail the elections and condemned violence during the polls, calling for justice for the victims. And now to discuss this and the latest developments in Osun State, we're joined by a lawyer and a political analyst. Festus Ogun, thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Thank you very much for having me.
So let's understand your interpretation of the Court of Appeal's decision to reinstate the APC local government chairman in Osun State, despite the election being held.
Well, the judgment of the Court of Appeal in the matter earlier initiated by the PDP at the trial court is very clear. The Court of Appeal simply stated that the Federal High Court that gave the judgment that initially sacked the earlier elected local government chairman was null and void on the basis that the Federal High Court lacks the jurisdiction to have entertained the matter in the first place. And that stemmed from the fact that as at the time the PDP went to court to challenge the election conducted under Oyetola's administration, there was no reasonable cause of action. Not only that, at that material time, the matter was filed pursuant to a repealed law. But beyond the Court of Appeal judgment delivered in February 10, we must not forget that there is also an APP judgment, a judgment obtained by the Action People's Party in November 2022. In that said judgment, the Court of Appeal equally dismissed the appeal filed by the APC. So what it implies is that as of today, the Court of Appeal, on the one hand, said, look, the action filed by the PDP nullifying the election of the earlier elected candidates should be struck out for being incompetent. On the other hand, the APP judgment that nullified the election still stand because the appeal filed by the APC was dismissed by the Court of Appeal. So as of today, our own approach, our own modest interpretation is that that judgment of the APP nullifying the election of, APC members who were elected as chairman and local and councillors remain nullified.
Okay,
which
so
is why, in our respectful view, the election conducted by the Osun State Independent Electoral Commission was very imperative and was, necessary as a matter of law, because by dint of the judgments delivered by the Supreme Court last year, it is now very important for there to be a democratically elected local government executive, which is why I believe, not only Osun states, all states in Nigeria must conduct local government elections to put in place democratically elected executive in place of caretaker chairmen who are not, known to law.
Okay, so just to be sure or to be categorical about this, we're talking about local government elections. Which court should have precedence in terms of court judgments when it has to do with grassroots government?
So there is no dilly-dally about this. There is no confusion about this. To my mind, the nature of the matter that was litigated at the Federal High Court, which was on the basis that the OSEC in 2022 did not comply with the provisions of the Electoral Act, because by dint of the Electoral Act 2022, which is the extant electoral law in Nigeria, any state electoral commission who is to conduct election must ensure that the conduct of the election, the procedure of the election, is not in conflict, is not inconsistent with the provisions of the Electoral Act as it relates to election in the federal of area councils in the Federal Capital Territory. So the Electoral Act 2022 has created a new jurisprudence which states essentially that anything you want to do in your state must conform with what the Electoral Act provides for election into area councils in FCT. So if a dispute arises from the interpretation of the Electoral Act 2022, you have to go to the Federal High Court. So the Federal High Court has jurisdiction to entertain matters of that nature.
Okay.
But anything outside that, you go to the State High Court. But when you are saying that, look, these people have not complied with the provision of the Electoral Act, because the Electoral Act says that the electoral laws of states cannot be made in non-compliance or in non-conformity with the new provisions of the Electoral Act as it relates to the area council of the FCT. That provides like a guideline. You cannot go outside that guideline. So if you go outside that guideline, you can approach the Federal High Court because you are inviting the Federal High Court to interpret a federal legislation. So I believe the Federal High Court has jurisdiction on that kind of matter. Every other matters has to go to the State High Court.
All right, so now how might this standoff that we're seeing between the PDP-led state government and the APC-reinstated chairman, so to speak, how do you think it would affect grassroots governance in Osun State?
When two elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. I sincerely believe that the political actors in Osun State must prioritize the security and welfare of their people. We cannot afford to have a repeat of Operation Wet here in Osun State. When you look at the records, Osun State is one of the most peaceful states in Nigeria. We cannot allow desperate politicians to turn the state to a theater of war. I do not think there is any confusion, if you ask me. I sincerely believe that the judgment is clear.
Okay.
If a judgment says, oh, If the Court of Appeal says the PDP case ought not to have been entertained by the trial court, we must not forget that there is an APP case that says that election remained nullified, and as of today, that APP case has not been upturned.
Okay.
So I don't see any reason, and I don't see any basis why the APC should resort to self-help. If at all they intend to even challenge, to even intend to get to office, there is a procedure for enforcement of judgment, which I think they ought to follow through. We cannot afford to resort to gangsterism. At the end of the day, it is our people that would suffer.
All right, thank you so much, Festus Ogun, a lawyer and political analyst, for sharing this legal aspect of your insights with us on the news. We appreciate that.
Thank you for that.